Hello, it's me, James, and I'm here with Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hello.
We are here to talk about rulings. Peter and some other members of the community had got together to ask a few questions about the Dark Phoenix set and send them to WizKids, and I think it was like 24 hours later, WizKids actually responded in record time with a beautiful new format of rulings in a nice PDF form in the Dice Masters Unlimited Facebook group. And they answered the questions, shockingly. That did, in turn, raise a few more questions, which I wrote to
Of
ask about, and
course.
we even got answers for some of those. So we should be very happy, and thank you very much, Jimmy and WizKids, for your responsiveness. Um, so, without further ado, let's crack on with the first one, which is loyalty counters. The gist of the question was: do cards which gain loyalty counters have to be active in order to do so? And the answer was not unless they explicitly say so. So I think Moira, for example, does say that she has to be active, but the rest of them do not. If it doesn't say they have to be active, then they can get and maintain loyalty counters, even if you haven't bought the die, right?
Yeah, which sort of makes sense with the 12 cost. We kind of infer that 12 cost Supreme Intelligence, which kind of needs the loyalty counters to make it even somewhat reasonable to purchase. But does make some of the other ones pretty strong. The
Indeed.
Magneto and the Gladiator in particular, you could probably set up kind of while you're ramping up to buy the 6 costs, still be getting them even stronger with loyalty counters, which is kind of interesting.
And that actually plays right into the next one, which is Living the Dream, which is a continuous action which reads: if among all character cards on your team, you have at least 3 loyalty counters, your character dice get +1 attack and overcrush in brackets reminder text until end of turn. Um, the question basically revolved around what
What's up
when
with
did that
the
end?
reminder text? Yeah.
Yeah, and the answer was ignore the reminder text. So that's pretty good. You get it in the field, and it can only be removed by things which remove continuous action dice from the field. And while that's in the field, and you fulfill the condition of 3 loyalty counters, which, as we just mentioned, has got a lot easier, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
then all of your characters get +1 attack and overcrush. Presumably, if there were a way of removing loyalty counters and you dipped back down below 3, I assume that would switch off and then switch back on again if you got above that level.
Yeah,
Unless,
presumably.
yeah,
I'm interested in this. I mean, this card seems strong initially. I think it's got much stronger with these two rulings in particular. The fact that you don't kind of have to have the character with loyalty counters active trigger. The Magneto, now that it doesn't have to be purchased or even active to get the loyalty counters on it, for you to have to KO some mask characters. I'm thinking
mm,
about the 3 cost Kang blank with the kind of 5 4 5 5 attack stats from
mm-hmm.
Infinity Gauntlet might be a useful one to kind of use this with, right? So you can get a few Kangs KO'd
Yeah,
and then just get them out. But even something like the Harley Quinn, which is coming up, the 1 cost mask, get a few
blimey.
of those KO'd, get some loyalty counters on the Magneto, and then you don't even have to have a loyalty character active. You just have to have this card and those kind of big statted little guys. Be pretty strong. But yeah,
Yep.
it seems to me that they just copied and pasted the +1 and Overcrush and had until the end of turn in brackets, just pasted on by accident.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
sense.
an interesting new win con, which I wouldn't really have given loyalty counters. But before these 2 rulings, I wouldn't have given them much of a second glance. But this
Hmm.
changes things a bit,
Yeah, we need more Overcrush. So
indeed. Let's push on to the next one, which is Moira. It's not a dream. She reads: while Moira is active, when an opponent fields a continuous action die, re-roll it. If it lands on an action face, they may field it normally. Otherwise, send it to the used pile. The issue here is whether they actually field or stroke use that action die or
hmm
not. Is it a complete replacement? So is it if they would field it, in fact, or not? And it turns out that it is a replacement. So they don't use it, so it doesn't trigger a tune and it doesn't trigger existing gold catches or anything like that. if it comes up on energy, right?
Yeah, I like the fact that the last card was the living the dream, and it's not a dream. So kind of direct counter inset, which is kind of fun.
There was an additional question because the ruling does say that it goes straight to used. The die it actually uses the words directly to the used pile.
Play.
And generally speaking, everything that sort of gets rolled and enters your reserve pool, which the die would have done, if it leaves there, it goes via out of play, with the exception of unfielded characters. So the question was, does it really go directly to used, or does it go via out of play? Didn't get an answer for that one. We might have to take them at their word, because Patrick Shadowmel pointed out that actually at the very end of your turn, action dice which you haven't used do, ironically, go straight to used at the very end of your turn. So maybe this is like that. We don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, well, what a bunch of rules lawyers you all are.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect too much. Let's hope.
No, I don't think so.
Let's move on. We've got Storm Queen, who has a massive bunch of text which basically says when she's fielded, you re-roll a target die. God, it's very small, isn't it? And when she attacks, you re-roll 2 opposing.
Yeah, you basically make them re-roll a lot, and then she deals damage every time they re-roll, except for her energize doesn't trigger the damage.
Yes. So,
which is fine, separate bits of text, I suppose.
Yeah, that's cleared that up nicely. Basically, when fielded does damage, the when attacks does damage, but the energized does not.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Emma Frost, finesse and manipulative. She does stuff in a new timing window at the beginning of your opponent's attack step before they actually attack, which raises a few issues possibly. When you by saying that you're going to attack, you declare an attack step, and that's the only way that you get a second global and action die window after blockers are declared. And once you have said that I'm going to do that, but before you actually attack, she gets to, I think one of them re-rolls a die, for example, or removes dice. And the questions concern, what if she removes the die that your opponent was going to attack with? And the answer in short was, if it removes that die and they have other dice, then they still have to attack with at least one die, because they've declared an attack step, so their intention is to attack. And if it removes the last die, obviously they can't attack because they don't have any dice to attack with, but you still get a global and action window in the attack step because it's been declared. Is that clear?
Yeah, various amounts of funkiness with this, really. Cool that there's a new window, I suppose. I think it's going to take a few kind of examples of this for everyone's brain to really work it out. But essentially, you're calling out that you're going to attack, then they can choose to roll one of the characters. And if you don't have that character anymore, they still have to attack because that was their intention. It's going to lead to some... I mean, it makes these cards stronger. Uncommon, I think, is still better. But yeah, I was thinking about the situation where you have like a big overcrusher, say the gladiator with loyalty tokens, and then like one controlling bit. And if you've only got those two characters, you're running the risk of declaring an attack, they roll out the gladiator, and now you have to attack with your like Drax that's saving you from them fielding their own Becky or whatever. So it's a very strange risk-reward thing. I don't know how much we'll see this played, but it makes it stronger. So yeah.
If it was a 3 cost, I would play that for fun.
Ooh, 3 cost would be real good, yeah.
For the confusion. Right, so that's Emma Frost. Next one is David Ken, Obsessed, whose text says, while David Ken is active, if you take combat damage, you may use an action die from either player's used pile. And basically the question was, can you use a continuous action die? And the answer was no. Because you can't have phantom copies of continuous action dice.
Yeah, good. Let's just keep it. That's much simpler than saying, yeah, you could, but then run out by the end of the turn or whatever. Just leave it like that.
Yeah, so if it's non-continuous, you're good to go, but if it's continuous, no. And I think the same thing might well be true of Forge, who's the next one. Forge says, while Forge is active, if an opponent uses an action die, roll it If it shows an action face, you may use its effect. If it's a continuous die, no, you can't, because again, you can't. There's a ruling on Joker, Oberon, Sexton, which basically says it fizzles in that case. And it's probably worth pointing out that the secondary question was, do you use the burst faces on the originally rolled action die or on the one that you roll? The one that you roll is just a logic check, yes, no, do I get to use a copy? If it's yes, then you use the die your opponent's die as it originally rolled, right?
Yeah, you essentially flip a coin instead of rolling the die.
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, both these make sense. Cleaned them up a little bit. We've been very manic to have kind of copies, phantom copies of continuous. So I don't think that would have worked. I don't think. I mean, interesting to see how both of these work in real play. They're good. They're good clarifications, I suppose.
And it's great that they've got it out before people have got their hands on product. So it's all worked out nicely. Next one is Master Mold. We can deal with this fairly quickly. Master Mold says, when fielded, when Master Mold attacks, and when Master Mold is KO'd, place a Sentinel token with 5 attack and 5 defense into the field zone. The question was, is that only on the turn?
How it's written, yeah.
Yeah, well, not quite. It's like, is the first clause when fielded, does that mean on the turn when he's fielded, when he attacks and when he's KO'd, so twice, potentially, or is it when he's fielded and when he attacks and when he's KO'd? And in fact, it's the second one. So he does it a maximum of 3 times in a single turn.
Yeah, I mean, that is how it's written. I think people just wanted it to not be that strong, I guess. But the answer is, yes, it is that strong.
There is a rare chewing gum which is written in the same way, and I think functions differently. So I think it was worth clarifying.
Yeah,
I think it was.
True. I mean, yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a card that sees a lot of play. So it's good that we get it up front. We know how broken it is.
It's been clarified twice now, so yes, it really does work that way. Okay, moving on to
still sucks, so.
Radicalization. This actually popped up in the video we made the other day with Peter. We were discussing whether you could use the Radicalization Global, which says pay a fist, and you can gift the X-Men or Brotherhood affiliation to a target die of your choice. If you could target dice which were rolled dice in your reserve pool, because some things can target those, but as was pointed out, only if the card says so, and the card does not say so. So no, you can't, which is nice and clear, but maybe limits the shenanigans.
Yeah, unlike the last one, the Master Mold, this kind of has put the kibosh, is that the word? Kibosh on some of the kind of Team Watch shenanigans, especially with Brotherhood, I think, that people were interested in. Yeah, but good, makes sense, clear, follows rulebook.
Indeed, and I think, the last two are sort of connected. Psylocke has the same text as the old school Wind Rider, which is when fielded, reroll up to 2 opposing characters. Each die that does not roll a character, sorry, I'm squinting now, goes to your opponent's use pile. Psylocke deals 2 damage to your opponent for each die moved. Sounds straightforward, but they've copied and pasted the text exactly from Wind Rider, and the wording in the game has improved a lot since Wind Rider was released, and it wasn't entirely clear. If I think I can go to the next slide, in fact, and you can see Storm there. It wasn't really totally clear what character means on Psylocke's card, because it used to mean character die, but they actually preemptively clarified that it actually they copy the text and they mean character, which means all copies. So if they target 1 Gambit die, then all copies of Gambit in your opponent's field zone are also re-rolled, right?
Yeah. Which makes sense with the way wording is. Interesting if they thought maybe that's how Storm would initially work. They probably didn't. But the Psylocke, interesting, they just decided that they keep with this text. Makes Psylocke stronger in probably very certain scenarios. Those scenarios are probably less frequent than when Storm would be useful, right?
Yeah,
it's not very often how your opponent will have more than one of the same die.
Yeah. The downside of Psylocke compared to Storm is that they have ruled that Psylocke can't choose psychics to reroll. because then they are character dice, but they're not characters. I suppose that's the justification. Yeah. If you've been able to reroll one psychic and reroll all of your opponent's psychics, that would have been, potentially,
Well, one of the ways to get damage through with Storm was to roll psychics out, just to make sure you guarantee, because you have obviously 1 in 6 chance that they're going to roll characters on psychics, whereas you have a 50-50 chance on all other characters. So, this is stronger, makes Psylocke stronger in less frequent scenarios, I guess.
So in summary, Storm works the way it always has, and even though Psylocke has exactly the same text, she works differently in that she rolls all copies of the characters that you select, but she can't target psychics.
Yep.
There we go then. So I think that's everything. Thank you very much, Ben, for your time. Thank you very much, everybody at home, for listening. If you have any questions or if you think we made any mistakes, please do let us know in the comments. And take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Rules lawyers for the win.